Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Mark Bellamy. I am the director of the Africa Center for Strategic Studies at National Defense University, and it is a great pleasure to welcome all of you here this morning to the opening of the Senior Leaders Seminar for 2011. We have today about 65 military and civilian attendees from 37 countries as seminar participants, alongside a truly international cast of presenters, facilitators, faculty, and staff. This is truly a diverse gathering, as all of our ACSS Africa Center events are. The Senior Leaders Seminar has a special place in the history of the Africa Center because it is our longest running program and has generated more graduates and alumni, more than 1,000, than any other ACSS program. This is the 13th Senior Leaders Seminar. The first was held in Dakar, Senegal, in 1999. Much has changed in Africa in the intervening years. It's possible to look back and summarize and characterize the major changes in Africa and, to some extent, globally. But it is not always easy to assign meaning to those changes. We see trends, or we think we see trends, past trends and present trends, but we cannot always tell if they are positive or negative. Usually they are a bit of both, and that is especially true in Africa. When I look back, I see a decade of almost unparalleled economic growth across Africa, a global financial crisis that Africa survived relatively well, increasing economic interaction with new partners, such as China, and great progress in checking the spread of killer diseases such as HIV, AIDS, and malaria. I also see a decade in which the number of deadly conflicts in Africa diminished, as did the number of casualties in Africa's wars. I note that the terrorist potential that we thought we saw in Africa in 2001 turned out to be, thankfully, somewhat less extensive than feared. I also see major gains in political freedoms in many parts of the continent. But each of these positive trends has a negative side as well. Unless economic growth is accompanied by improvements in governance, unless publics believe that gains are being fairly distributed, then security will result and instability will ensue. That is one lesson from Tunisia and Egypt. As Africa continues its strong economic growth across the board into the next decade, as it certainly will, this is a potential security challenge to keep in mind. The side effects of Chinese and other emerging market involvement in Africa are also worth considering, especially when such side effects may include the reinforcement of unpopular or corrupt incumbent political elites. And deadly conflicts may have eased, as I said a moment ago, but virulent war zones still exist. And there is renewed concern about the potential for internal instability in important African countries, such as Sudan. The international terrorist threat may not have materialized in some places, but it remains dangerous in others. In the meantime, the threat of transnational crime has increased across Africa. And despite the spread of democratic norms and practices, they have not always met with popular expectations or resulted in better government. In some places, citizens have grown disillusioned, while political elites have figured out how to maintain the outward appearance of democracy while strengthening their own holds on power. So there is room for concern across Africa, just as there are reasons, many reasons, for optimism. Those like yourselves, who are concerned first and foremost with security in the broadest sense of the word, have much to consider and contend with. Your societies are increasingly dynamic and complex. Sources of insecurity are multiplying faster than your ability to comprehend them fully or devise solutions. You all know that military solutions are only a small part of the answer to most of the security challenges you will face. Yet you also know that as a practical matter, there will be few solutions that do not involve your militaries in one way or another. You all know that whole-of-government solutions are needed. But like your American counterparts, you're not always sure how to engineer whole-of-government approaches. You know that improved political leadership, representative, accountable, and clean government is a prerequisite to successfully confronting your many security challenges. But you are uncertain how to achieve this. I wish we had a good answer to give you. We've all come a long way since 1999. I am pleased that 12 years later, we're still here. We are still talking and listening to each other. We are learning. We are working together. We are as determined as ever to forge good partnerships as we move into the future. And I am confident that as we form those partnerships through workshops and seminars such as this one, we will find common understandings and effective approaches to the challenges that we face. It is our job as leaders to illuminate the path of strategic cooperation.